the way that,
Right here.
right, correct.
That cartoon I saw, I should bring in the good
That's
side.
good.
So how would be any problem?
We just aren't gonna teach them to read.
Do we know who's reading the motions?
Sure,
I can do the first one if you'd like.
Gotten this pen.
So she said we are on. Great. Welcome to our 5:30 special school board meeting in the Merle Peacock Junior Boardroom, Thursday, June 15th at 5:30, 2023. Call to order. I will ask board members to introduce themselves, beginning with Jim Lothridge.
Jim Lothridge.
Diane Potter,
Melissa Tracy.
Colin McGough.
Megan Carlson.
Becky Fless.
Molly Rogers.
Jack Pitteroff.
Sorry, Tony Beat.
There you go. Administrative staff,
Pat Hopkins, superintendent.
Andrea Dish, business manager. Carrie McGuire, director of technology.
excellent, thank you. The first on the agenda is a computation and declaration of votes dated June 13th, 2023.
I voted that the computation and declaration of votes dated June 14th, 2023 and attached hereto be approved. Further voted that the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of the Maine School Administrative District number 11. And further voted that a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks of the member municipalities within the Maine School Administrative District number 11.
Second.
Motion by Alyssa, second by Tony. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. The second one now. Okay, and then there's one more to read.
I'll do it.
Thanks, Jack.
That's a motion, right?
I move that the warrant for assessment of tax and the assessment schedule and notice of installments for each member municipality prepared by the treasurer for fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024 be approved and be issued in form presented to this meeting, and that the treasurer be authorized and directed to deliver to each member municipality its warrant for assessment of tax and its assessment schedule and notice of installments.
Second. Okay, moved by Jack, second by Molly. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And just for all of you that are watching out there, we are all signing the results of the declaration of the vote. So we are listening and paying attention, but we're also trying to multitask, which sometimes goes better than others. So thank you for indulging us. Correspondence?
As written, in addition to what's already been posted, we have a letter of resignation from Audrey St. Pierre from the Child Service Nutrition Service Program at the high school, and a letter of resignation from Katie McLaughlin, who is a speech pathologist who's been working at Helen Thompson.
Okay. General information.
General information, in addition to the two names put forth on the agenda that was posted, we also have Judith, I didn't ask how to pronounce her last name, Villieu, who will be the new administrative assistant at Gardner Regional Middle School.
Perfect, great. And Jim, you had a question?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
The resignation letter from Katie McLaughlin, was that she being paid through COVID money, or is she a standard hire?
Standard hire,
Okay, so we're gonna have to replace her. I thought it
Yes.
might be a.
yes.
If you would, please.
This one, you didn't finish.
No, no, I didn't get that one.
Oh,
Sorry, Pat, I had a question about correspondence too.
yes.
Didn't we receive a letter from the public to the board email addresses regarding the flag issue at the high school?
Yes, we
Yes, you
did.
did. You're right. That should have been on here. I don't know that with everything going on, I'm not sure that I forwarded that to Martha to put it on the agenda. But certainly I will do that for the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Was that the email that I responded to? Or a different?
No, it was one that I responded to.
Okay, yes, there were two more.
Okay, we'll have to look at that. I only recall one that I responded to that went to the entire board. I don't recall there being
Did the
multiple
one that you,
letters that went to
did
the
that go to the
board.
entire
I
board?
don't think so. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I thought there was just one.
Okay, okay. Ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, nominations?
Yes, I have two. I'd like to recommend, what's her first name? Mary Ann?
Mary Ann.
Okay, we have down here Annie Arnold, but it's Mary Ann, as an instructional math coach at the middle school. This is a position that is currently funded, Jim, by ARP funds. And then Brian Wilson for the school psychologist position.
I've already signed that one.
Where's that position? Is that a district position?
District
or is it
position, yes. And
close
that
to
this
every school? Isn't he already?
So this particular individual is going to be new to the district. He has been an employee of a virtual, a company that provided services virtually. And he is now going to be our employee, but he will be providing services virtually. But he will not be in person. He will be out of state and will continue to provide services to our district. It's worked really well. We've actually had our school psychologist for the last couple of years, even before Brian, the person that we had before had moved out of state and continued her job working virtually for us. And it's worked fairly well, so.
They're a W-2 employee, not working for that company anymore.
Correct, will be
Okay.
our district
Very good.
employee.
Very good.
I just happened to have some experience with Brian and he was lovely. And I thought he did a really good job.
Great, I've heard wonderful
Yep.
things, yeah.
Excellent.
I give you credit, Pat, for allowing that as a remote role too and seeing the.
Yeah.
Really great.
Well, thank you. I mean, he's done a fabulous job. It is much better to have this position as a district position versus us being held to the expectations of an outside organization. While we've had a great relationship with that particular company, we have greater control over the individual when they're our district employee.
And not having to wait in line for students to be seen and. Because
Absolutely.
it's
I
a lot
thought
of.
I thought he was thorough and professional and he did a really good job. Yeah, I mean, because I could see how somebody might be skeptical at first, thinking about that sort of position being remote, but based on the tools that he's working with, he can make it work and he was really easy to deal with, like telehealth, like
Yeah.
through the screen. He's very personable.
Sure.
I think
That's
he
great
pulls
to
it
hear.
off,
That's
yeah.
great to hear.
That is awesome.
We need a motion on that.
Yes, we do.
So I move we accept those nominations as written.
Second by Jim. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Great, thank you. And then update on the status of the summer ESY program.
Yes, Jim, you asked that I
Yes.
provide you an update, and since the last board meeting, the administration and the special ed department have been able to secure staff.
Thank you so much.
They have 4 teachers that will be sharing in that work, so it will last for 6 weeks, will be our ESY, from 8 to 11 a.m. and transportation will be provided both ways. If in the event, however, that we are not able to do ESY in the future, then what we'll do is we look to make up the services during school vacation. So that's kind of an alternative if we have more luck in trying to secure staff at that time.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of the extended school year to reduce the lost learning for those students with challenges during the summer?
Well, ideally,
I know it's
yes,
ideal, but it's not.
ideally, but if we're unable to employ and hire and we have no other choice and we have exhausted every effort to fill those positions, we're still responsible for providing that instruction. It just has to happen at a different time.
When would we know that we don't have the employees?
Parents would be notified at the beginning of the summer or at the end of the school year that we
So
don't
would it be
have.
the following year's vacation times?
Yeah, it would be built into the following year, yes. Yeah. So hopefully that will never happen. Hopefully we'll always be able to secure staffing, but that was the response that was provided to me.
Where did you get that response from that's legal? Is it
Special ed department, the
to our special ed
director.
or, okay,
Yep, our director.
and her, where did she get that information from? I just find that.
She is very well versed with the law around special ed. So if she is telling me this is what would happen, I am very confident that it is legal and the appropriate next step. Whenever Alicia doesn't know something and she's not confident, she contacts one of our school attorneys that specializes in special ed. So
It could just end up in a very unhealthy lawsuit if we don't provide those services.
we understand. And fortunately, they were able to pull it off. And thankfully, we have 4 teachers who have offered to help share in the responsibility. So we have one that might do a week, someone else that might do 2 weeks, so that we can offer the entire 6-week program.
They've already been informed that it's on, the families that maybe got the letter that it wasn't. Do you know?
I
I'm just
don't know the
curious.
answer as to whether
Yeah.
that letter has gone out yet.
Yeah.
If it has not, it will be going out
Cool.
very, very
Very
soon.
good, yeah,
But
that's good.
I don't know. They just secured all 4 teachers this week.
Okay, excellent. Good.
So the next topic,
Yes, discussion on display of materials at the MSAD11 property and legal obligations to be held at an agreed upon date in August 2023.
yes, so you are all well aware of what happened at the high school. And that has, as a result of that situation, we really do need to have a policy conversation regarding what goes on walls in the future. And I am pretty confident that you're gonna have members of the community and staff who will want an opportunity to be able to share their thoughts. It is a time where you're going to want your school attorney present, since we are talking about civil rights issues. That's gonna be wrapped in, so, Jim?
Don't know what happened at the high school, sorry
Oh.
about that.
Oh, okay. So what happened at the high school a couple weeks ago, we had a tenuous situation where the administration had previously approved the allowing flag, our pride flag,
Okay,
to be on the wall. And so it was on the wall and a student went up to that flag and put a Trump 2020 flag over it. That resulted in other students coming over and pulling both flags down. There was an eruption, lots of loud voices, screaming, hollering, swearing at each other. The administration, when they went in to address it, informed me that they were really concerned about the escalation of that situation. We ended up spending the weekend talking to our lawyers. What are we going to do? We need to make sure that we ensure the safety of all students. So it was decided for a temporary measure that there would be no flags hung and there would be no flags that could be worn on clothing. And so that resulted in some communication from people on both sides of the issue. And that was lifted on Monday because at that point, the escalation had passed. And so because the escalation had passed, it was necessary to lift that temporary restriction. And so I notified families Sunday morning that it was going to be lifted. And to my knowledge, there were no issues this week. But certainly there were a lot of strong feelings on both sides of the issue. And so it's going to be important to have a conversation at this level to kind of talk about policy moving forward. That incident only applied to the high school, not to the entire school district and to the other buildings. So you will need to make a determination as to whatever it is that you want to do in terms of a policy, how far reaching is it? Is it throughout the district? Is it just the high school, just the middle school, high school, et cetera? So,
And Jim, I would just say Pat did a good job in the interim of when the policy went into effect to informing people that things that were previously approved were still in effect, and the state flag and so forth, and then the summary, so it was clear.
That's not
I
it's
know,
not just in this area. That's,
correct.
correct.
that has been in many schools across this area
Mm.
and probably across the nation, but I know this area for certain.
Correct.
Sometimes I feel like a dinosaur because I get up and read a newspaper every day. But, and we may agree or disagree with what they put in the paper. But there were a lot of facts about it put in there. And one of them was that the gay pride flag had been approved by the administration.
Correct. It had been previously approved, yes.
And so is it now going to be there till the end of this month or school's out, I suppose?
Yes, as of Monday, I notified families, students and staff that whatever flag had previously been approved to be displayed could be displayed once again. And as Alyssa said, the only thing that was removed were flags. All other displays were left in place. They were not the cause of the disruption. The cause of the disruption, the trigger, was the flag.
We don't have, or we do have a club on campus, don't we?
Correct.
So
Who did the right method?
that makes an awful lot of sense that
Mhm.
there would be a flag.
Correct.
And, but we don't have political organizations on campus.
Correct.
Beyond student service, I would say, right? Like elections for student government or
Well,
something.
yes, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about
For other affiliations,
political
no,
parties, real,
right.
you
And
know.
we need to
So
be-
this is a healthy conversation that I think the board
Should
you know,
schedule
needs
for
to
August.
participate in. And there are civil rights, civil liberty issues at play
Yes.
here. So it's really important that you dedicate some time just to this issue, not try to attach it to another purpose, right? And you do want to have your school attorney attend who can help guide and advise you as you consider the development of a policy. So in August, I'm just kind of looking at that, the dates in August. We have the 17th, which is the third Thursday of the month. That's when you generally have workshops. Now, we were also talking about having a meeting regarding the strategic plan. And I think we were looking at doing it then, and we were going to try to make like a 4-hour meeting. So I'm not sure what you want to do based on what I just said. I don't know that you want to combine the two. I think that's too intense, right? Because you want to be fresh and be able to have a really thorough conversation on both of those topics. So thinking about your summer, you're going to have a meeting on the 3rd, the first Thursday of the month. If you have a meeting on the 17th, when would you like to have the other meeting? If you look at August, there are 5 Thursdays.
Lucky August.
I know, but so you could do like the 17th and the 24th. That would be back-to-back, 2 back-to-back Thursdays. Take a Thursday off when students are back in school, that first week of school. And then you're going to meet again on the 7th of September. You could do that, or you could meet on the 17th and the 31st, understanding that you will then meet the following week on the 7th. So,
Is it only Thursdays available?
well, generally that's when you have all had your regular meetings. But no, if you wish to have a special meeting, wish to have it some other time, certainly we can consider that.
What if we get to decide on the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
14th, like the 14th or something, like a few days separated from the strategic plan, but still far enough before school starts that we're not cramming it in.
Can you remind me what the first day of school is?
Sure, the first day of school for students will be the 30th.
Thank you.
My hesitancy on the 14th is I am working with administrators to schedule administrative workshop. And we had tentatively scheduled for 2 days, the 7th and the 8th, and then the 16th. But there is going to be a statewide summit that looks amazing on the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th that I may want us to go to. So I may be moving our workshop to the 14th, 15th, and 16th. So I don't have that's not confirmed.
Yeah.
But knowing we might, if we could stay away from.
Right, I guess my ulterior motive in asking such a thing is, for the first time ever, I'm booked for an entire week of vacation away from my house, from the 20th to the 26th, but I really also want to be involved in the meeting.
I have a question before you go too far. What are we gonna do with the strategic plan on this next meeting? Is it a informational meeting? Are we voting on anything? Are we deciding anything? Because I think the issue regarding the flags is a whole lot more important than unless we're doing something major with the strategic plan that I don't know about.
So the intent with the strategic plan is that over the summer, administrators are going to spend some time reviewing it and developing goals that we recommend, that we will recommend to you, to the board. And then it will be up to the board to spend some time really thinking about those goals and making a decision as to whether you recommend, whether there's some modifications to the goals. And that's part one, but then there's also taking all of that data that we collected and actually turning it into a formalized strategic plan.
We're not going to be doing the formalized strategic plan. Your offices will be. And so I don't see the urgency of us meeting to discuss the strategic plan. It's not something that I see as critical. I mean, I'm not ignoring it. I just don't see it as critical, where I do see when we have conflict between two groups of students, I sure want to get in front of that. And I'm afraid that if we try to do too many things within one small area, we're going to shortchange something or other. And I would much rather take the problem with competing groups of students and it goes back to the community. It isn't just the students.
Right.
So
I tend to agree with Jim in that
Okay.
regard. And we can give the staff more time, I feel
Yeah.
like, too. They're very good at what they do.
yeah, I'm not.
And I think that's okay.
Do you
Give
think
them
we're
a little
going to
more time.
overrule the staff?
Right, the goals, and they've got the data now
Yeah.
to make it happen, right? So I think if we give them a little more time, maybe they'll also appreciate that they don't have a
Right.
deadline in the middle of August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So others agree?
Yes. Yes, but
Okay.
I think we've talked about this. I have summer leadership in August from the 16th to the 20th. And so I'm not available for either thing.
We could do it earlier. I don't see a problem.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah,
I don't care when it
wanna
happens. I
just
just want to.
Cram the two of them together. That's all I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
and I
I'll
don't
do
want
it anytime you want us here.
I'm just saying I don't want to do the
Yeah.
policy thing on that.
option?
Yeah, if you want to have 2 back-to-back meetings, I could check in with our attorneys. Do you want to do it the
I
10th?
can't attend the 10th, but
And you can't do the 24th. The 9th?
August 9th?
I'll still be not able to come.
Can you come at all that week?
Let me see. I have that week off, so I'm usually up to camp. That's
Is
no
our-
problem.
Is our August agenda a very full agenda typically?
A lot of hiring. There's a lot of hiring. There's some general approval that have to happen. Meaning you have to hire who the school's physician will be and, those sort of approvals that need to be completed. Are you going to suggest that we try to do it the night of the 3rd?
I'm wondering if it's an option where so many people want to be there, we're somewhat already committed to the date.
We're there.
I could
And
even do earlier in the day. I don't know, Jack. I don't know if
In the summertime, I could make that. work.
Okay, because I didn't know how long.
I can't do much earlier on the 3rd. I'm booked to a training.
Much earlier than what time?
Like 5:30, maybe I could do 5, but it would be
Okay.
close. But it's
Others, the 3rd?
Yeah, it's after 5. I have trouble before 5.
Okay. All right, well, let me check in with our attorneys, let you and I talk more, and we can talk about that agenda, maybe what we could do. Maybe we have the workshop on the 3rd and the regular board meeting on the 17th, because if you have a couple board members who aren't here, that's okay, as long as we have a quorum.
Yeah, that'll work.
So I will
And you could
pull
leave that
out,
meeting because I'll be in Utah.
right,
It'd be in
Yeah.
Utah, yeah.
I will pull out last August's agenda as a reminder so that we can really see what it was that what we discussed. Okay,
One
all
last
right.
question about the altercation at the high school. Did any students receive disciplinary action because of what happened?
Yes.
Did many students? I'm not sure we're allowed to know
I really
enough,
have
to
to
be
be
honest.
careful, but yes, there were some consequences.
That's the only answer you're getting.
I would say it wasn't a large number is what I would gather from what I heard, right, based on the, yeah.
I mean,
Again, we spent
Yeah.
a lot of time because of the civil rights issue. We spent a lot of time with our attorneys talking about every aspect of what happened legally, what was appropriate, what was not appropriate, and talk about student discipline with our attorney.
I'm asking because when I hear that, it makes me think that when that kind of problem happens, it's because we don't have the right policy or guidelines in place for the students. So that's our fault as much as theirs. And I would hate to see them, any of them involved, take permanent disciplinary action on their record because of that. I think that's probably unfair. We failed them in not creating like a space that's safe for discourse. So I don't know if there's a way to unwind that and give them a fresh start going into the fall once we have.
I really can't talk about the discipline piece. I want to be really careful with that. And I don't agree with you, Cullen. However, what I do believe pretty strongly, and there's been a lot of work that is begun, and that is around providing education and training for our staff and for our students. So looking at bringing in some professional development for next year that will engage the student body as well as engage the entire faculty support staff.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. It's more that one way or the other, we're going to come out of that August meeting with a new set of guidelines. This is what the district thinks.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see any of those students like have a permanent chip on their shoulder if they can't be brought along to a new level of understanding about what is and is not appropriate discourse and behavior in the school itself.
But that would be true for any policy, wouldn't you say, when things change?
I would like to say that, but this is
Yeah.
definitely hot button
Totally,
and it's
It is hot
elevated.
button.
agreed.
This is a different sort of,
Yeah,
a civil,
Yep,
a civil issue as opposed to a political issue, and they're very
I
close.
was gonna say, there's so much of this I'm not aware of the situation, so, yeah, it's hard to understand
Yeah.
and follow what you're saying.
And with FERPA, I just have to be very careful.
Exactly, not asking necessarily, but explaining that I don't know where I am on any of this because I'm just not aware of the situation. And in training have been told, don't ask, so that
Right.
we can.
Potentially, if you are in a position, right, where you're going to have a situation, potentially discipline put in front of you, you have to make sure that you have not already formed a decision, right?
right.
So it's being very cautionary about how much information we put in front of you. And members of the public, I don't think that they understand that, but you're a jury, so you need to go into any type of meeting being able to weigh all the facts without being prejudiced by administration. So that does make it hard for board members, right? Because you don't necessarily have all the facts, and members of the public will hear things, right? And they may talk to you and you're like, yeah, I don't know. And I know that can be a real challenge to you, but we do that just to make sure that any individual who has to come in front of you, that they receive, that they're treated fairly, right? And you're unbiased prior to meeting with them to discuss any type of disciplinary matter.
If I could just express a hope, it's the hope that all the students involved can be brought along to a place where they understand that fresh starts and new attitudes are not just possible, but encouraged, rather than doubling down on ideological clashes that are probably not even really their own, it's stuff that's being informed by the things that
Right.
they experience out in the world.
I have met with many, many families, many, many students this year, more so than ever in the past. And I certainly hope, and I think that there are many who would say that we are very fair and very understanding and trying to make students understand that there are consequences for their actions. However, they're students, and so we need to use this as a learning opportunity moving forward. And I would hope that many would tell you that that is our position across the board.
Thank you.
I would like to make sure that we do have a section where we go over where our gap in policy is, because I'm curious where that, what wasn't met in this instance. That a new policy had to be created kind of on the fly. And so that part to me is sort of, kind of goes where Cullen is, I think, but.
There is you do have a policy that says that the administration gets to decide what's put up. The question now is, with the civil discourse is who's going to decide what that should be, right? Is it left to the administration, or should there be more boundaries, clearer
Direction from
defined,
the board level.
right,
Yeah,
right,
I gotcha.
about what that
Okay.
should be.
Yep.
And Jim is right, many communities have faced this
Oh, it's
very
everywhere.
same topic.
There is a difference between discourse and conflict. And you can cross that line
Very easily.
in a heartbeat. I've a little bit of experience previously in that, and it gets real ugly real fast. And unless it's taken care of quickly, it just festers. And if we don't address it, it will just get worse. And we do have a culture, not just us, but there's certain words that I don't use in my language. I may swear like a sailor sometimes, but there's certain words I never use. And unfortunately, they're being heard at our high school and our middle school over and over and over again. And it's not just Gardner. Trust me, it is not. So,
And we've brought training in. I know Dr. Sims at the middle school had lots of training last year, and we certainly need to be continuing that and doing more work at the high school.
trouble is we have them for 6 hours a day. Their parents have them for the other 18 hours.
Well, they're with their friends
Their
as
peers.
well.
Their friends,
their
yes, I
peers,
agree.
Yeah. So, and there's social media, all of those factors, so, yeah.
None of those places.
Anyways, we should go on. I'm sorry. I got a little political there. What can I say?
So are we good? So I will reach out to our attorney, look at August 3rd. I'll try to target
Oh, I
5.
can't come that day.
You said it down over there, buddy.
I got one of you.
Yes, we are adjourned
Okay,
Please.
great, thank you.
at 6:07 and 54 seconds.
Thank you. So has everyone, let's make sure that these are all signed.
The one I didn't sign?
The very last page was one you missed.